the trap of niceness. You've probably heard this all your life. Just be a good person, be kind, be honest, be fair. And maybe you've tried. You've worked hard, treated people with respect, followed the rules. But somehow, things don't seem to work out. You're always overlooked. Others move ahead while you stay stuck. People with less talent but more aggression seem to get what they want. You wonder, what are you doing wrong? This is where Niccolo Machiavelli comes in. He was a political thinker from the 1500s who had a message most people still don't want to hear. According to him, nice guys really do finish last. Not because they're bad at what they do, but because they're playing the wrong game. Machiavelli believed that being good isn't enough. The world is messy, unfair, and often rewards the bold, the clever, and yes, the ruthless. And if you keep trying to win with kindness alone, you'll lose to people who are willing to lie, cheat, and manipulate to get what they want. His ideas may sound harsh, even uncomfortable, but if you've ever felt like your decency is holding you back, you might find something powerful in his advice. This isn't about becoming a bad person. It's about becoming someone who can survive and succeed in a world that doesn't always reward good intentions. The ugly truth: Machiavelli noticed something most people try to ignore. The wicked often win, not because they're better, but because they're willing to do what good people won't. While you're trying to be fair and polite, they're playing a completely different game. They lie without guilt. They twist the truth. They use charm when it helps them, and threats when it doesn't. They know how to pretend, how to seduce, how to distract, and how to strike when it matters. The problem isn't that good people are weak. It's that they're stuck trying to win with rules the other side doesn't even follow. We're told that to make the world better, we need to lead by example. Speak calmly, be patient, use logic. But Machiavelli saw this approach fail again and again. He watched good leaders try to change things through kindness, only to be crushed by those who had no interest in playing fair. And that's the ugly truth. Having good intentions means nothing if you don't have the power to protect them. It sounds noble to say we'll never lie, never intimidate, never deceive. But in the real world, people who are willing to do those things will always have an advantage. If we care about making real change, we have to stop pretending that goodness alone is enough. Why goodness fails: Machiavelli didn't hate good people. He simply pointed out that they often lose. He studied the history of his own country, Italy, especially the city of Florence, and saw a pattern. The leaders who tried to rule with kindness, fairness, and honesty, they were always the ones who were overthrown, betrayed, or destroyed. Meanwhile, the ones who were clever, ruthless, and strategic, those were the ones who held onto power. Why? Because the world isn't a level playing field. People don't always respond to fairness. In fact, they often take advantage of it. If you come to a fight with good manners while your opponent brings a weapon, who do you think is going to win? This is why Machiavelli wrote his most famous book, The Prince. Most people think it's a guide for becoming a tyrant, but that's not true. It was actually written to help good leaders survive. He wasn't saying you should be evil. He was saying, if you want to do good, you need to understand how power really works. Otherwise, you'll be crushed by those who do. Being kind is beautiful, but being kind without power? That's dangerous. Because it means you're easy to ignore, or worse, easy to destroy. Jesus as a political failure. Now here's where Machiavelli really shocked people. He pointed to one of the most respected figures in history, Jesus, and said something almost no one dared to say out loud. From a religious or spiritual point of view, Jesus is seen as a hero, kind, forgiving, peaceful, a symbol of love and goodness. But Machiavelli wasn't talking about religion, he was talking about real-world power. And from that point of view, he argued that Jesus was a failure. He was mocked, betrayed, humiliated, and killed. He didn't win in his lifetime. He was destroyed by the very people he tried to help. Machiavelli believed that this story, of the gentle, pure-hearted man who suffers quietly and is rewarded later, has deeply shaped Western culture. It teaches people to be soft, humble, and passive, to believe that pain is noble and that power should be avoided. But in the real world, this mindset often leads to defeat. That's not to say we should stop being kind or lose our morals. But Machiavelli's point is this: if we want to survive and make a difference, we can't just follow the path of sacrifice and suffering. We have to be strong. We have to be smart. And yes, sometimes we have to fight back. Learn from the enemy. Machiavelli wasn't telling us to become villains. He wasn't saying we should hurt others or give up on being good. What he was really saying is this: learn from the people who win, even if you don't like them. If you look at the most powerful and successful people in history, they often weren't the kindest, but they were effective. They knew how to influence others, how to hide their real intentions, how to scare people when needed, and how to win loyalty through charm when it helped. They were flexible, strategic, cold when they had to be. That's why they stayed in control. Nice guys usually ignore these lessons. They try to stay above all that. But in doing so, they leave themselves exposed. They bring honesty to a game that rewards manipulation. They bring softness to a world that respects strength, and then they wonder why they keep getting played. The answer isn't to become cruel or fake. The answer is to study those who are and use what works. If your goal is to do something meaningful, to build something that lasts, then you can't afford to stay naive. You need to be kind but also cunning, generous but also sharp, moral but also powerful. Because if you don't learn from your enemies, they'll always stay one step ahead of you. Effectiveness over good intentions. It's nice to believe that having a good heart is enough. That if your intentions are pure, life will reward you. But Machiavelli would say, it doesn't matter what you meant. It matters what you achieved. We often measure ourselves by how we feel inside. At least I did the right thing, we tell ourselves. But the world doesn't care about your inner goodness if it leads to failure. Results are what matter. If you want to create real change, if you want to make things better, not just in theory, but in reality, you need more than kindness. You need power, strategy, and the ability to get things done. Think about it this way. If someone wants to stop injustice, but refuses to challenge the people who cause it, are they really helping? If someone wants to protect the weak but stays silent when it matters most, are they truly doing good? Machiavelli challenges us to grow up, to stop hiding behind good intentions, and start focusing on what actually works. Because the world doesn't improve just because you mean well. It improves when someone has the courage and the tools to fight for it. So yes, be a good person, but be a good person who wins. Conclusion, a warning and a wake-up call. Machiavelli doesn't tell us to become monsters. He doesn't celebrate cruelty or dishonesty. What he does is hold up a mirror and show us why we keep losing. We lose, not because we're too kind, but because we're too blind to how power really works. We tell ourselves that the world is unfair because we're too good for it. But the truth is, we've just refused to learn from the people who win. The people we judge. The ones we call ruthless, manipulative, fake. But they're the ones who get results. And if we care about changing the world for real, we have to stop pretending we're above all that. Being pure is not enough. Being effective is what matters. That's how progress is made. That's how justice survives. And that's how good people stop getting crushed. So don't give up on your values. Keep your kindness, keep your purpose. But don't be soft. Don't be passive. Learn from your enemies, sharpen your tools, and fight smart. Because the truth is, nice guys don't have to finish last unless they choose to.